Been tinkering with this, made a lot of changes. You can see it is drastically narrow, probably more than we need, but we're gonna lose the four-wheel drive. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about what I've done here. I've had to modify this and the upper link, and we're using a billet lower control arm, which is for an MO5, if I know correctly. This came in that lot of stuff that I got. See how much narrower that really is. It is pretty extreme. So we're gonna have to shorten the steering links significantly. We'll get to that when we get there. And unfortunately, we're gonna have to change our front airbag mounts because that will no longer work the way that it did. Our bolts pattern and everything's different. We have less room to work with. So yeah, let me show you a little bit more what we're doing as I do the other side. And yeah, then we get to redo the whole front airbag layout. All right, so the big issue with these lower control arms is the inside is larger than on the old one. So it leaves our outside, our knuckle mount, whatever you want to call it, in about the same spot. But this one is made for a larger transmission, I guess, what this is going to go to. Now that can give you an opportunity to adjust the wheelbase if you need to. You can use spacers and shim that back and forth however you need. Luckily on this one we need it all the way to the front, so I think this is going to be tricky because we have to do both sides at the same time because they're held in with this pin. And then you put the front bumper on, it locks that pin in. But this is going to work. It's just getting it all lined up and getting these spacers in where they need to be. We're good to go ahead and put these on. I'm going to go ahead and remove that off the front to make some more room in there. And we'll pull everything out of the front gearbox when we get there because we really don't need any of that. And there's no point in having it in the car. We'll pull the drive shaft out and everything. So I'm trying to work this in one at a time because doing both together is going to be a nightmare. All right. So now I just got to keep this side from falling apart. Get this one on here. And now I am running these upside down, so these shock mounts or whatever these are angled down. They're still going to be not low enough for our air shocks, but it's going to have to work, I'm afraid. So we'll figure out something to cross that bridge when we get there. Oh man, this is not fun, especially since I've already got all the electronics on this car, all the air suspension stuff already on it. This is definitely tricky. All right. It has to do both at the same time. It's just how it works. Can get them to the back. Come on. There we go. All right. So it actually looks like we need another spacer. Oh man. All right. Let me see what's going on here. So the next big issue is our outer shafts typically mount with these. And obviously that's not going to thread into aluminum. So with our piece here, this is still plastic, so we can thread in from both sides. But I'm going to leave that just with this pin for now because we're going to have to use that hole to attach this hole to make some kind of drop mount for our shock like we had in the other setup. And we've got quite a bit of space here between the tire and that. So we've got room to still have enough steering. We don't need as much as it's giving us right now, obviously, but we're running into some issues because this gearbox is offset. We have all this junk going on this side. That this is, our upper over here is hitting that side of the gearbox, which we won't have that issue over here. We've got all this space, but this one is giving us some trouble. And it looks like even we may have to actually cut some of the gearbox off, which I hate to do, but it is what it is. I'm going to pull all these gears and stuff out, and we'll get this thing stripped down a little more. All right, guys, it's been a full day of work. We're still not done. I've got the front end narrowed, but we haven't reconnected the air suspension yet. I'm just kind of exhausted creatively at the moment. So yeah, it's kind of funny. We've come full circle back to the original mock-up when we just set the body on the wheels, laid out. But we're so much further along now. We're kind of going with the body drop look. Just the way it worked out, there's not a whole lot of different control arms and things out there. So this stuff we've used has got it narrow enough that we could go all the way down with it. So there at the end, I lowered the front body mount, and we could go a little lower with it, and we might, but I kind of like that look. It's sitting up just a little in the front, because if you're familiar with bag and body drop stuff, I mean, you're just trying to stuff a normal sized engine under there, even if it's like a stock 4-cylinder or something on a mini truck. And you're just very limited height wise. So you've got cross members and things like that to work with. Sometimes you have to tub the firewalls. So I think it's a very good representation of a real truck. I'll pull the body off here in a second. First, I want to talk about some of the stuff I've got planned. Other than finishing up the air ride and getting it working smoothly, my passenger rear, it's real tight for some reason. So I'm going to take that back apart. And you saw on some of those, the pins for the control arms and stuff, they were rusted up real bad. And I cleaned some of those. But the one in the rear, on the right rear, stayed very stiff for some reason. So we've got to address that. Up front, again, we got to figure out the shock thing. I want to try to paint more detail in this body. I'm scared to death to. The paint pins have changed. If you're familiar with these, I've been using these Tester flat black paint pins forever. This is the newer variant. This was when Rust-Oleum bought them out, and I think they've since sold off to another brand. But I want to do the door handles. I want to do the the marker lights. We need to do something with our blinkers, and I want to paint the air dam black, which would be pretty easy. This chrome piece all comes off, grille, headlights, and bumper, and we can just mask off and spray that with the SEM trim black. So that'll be super easy, but as far as masking and spraying, I'm not good at. So we're gonna have to try to do some of this detail stuff by hand, which I'm not very good at either, but yeah, it is what it is. We'll find a way. So the steering links were something I found on I think it was a TL01 or one of the M06 parts trees that I've got floating around. And it looks like we've got horrible toe in right now, but when we lift it, they straighten up, and it's pretty good. So I think that's gonna work out well. It just toes in a little bit more when we camber it out. It did get a lot more camber in the front, but I had to do a lot of hacking. So we had to remove all the drivetrain, all the gears out of this. Luckily, I didn't have to cut the actual gearbox. I removed the cap over the back here that holds the 3 gears in. The 2 gears in the top for the 4-wheel drive. And that allowed our side over here to clear. But then we were hitting the shock tower. So I had to cut out these little notches over here on the shock tower, so that upper control arm mount could actually tuck in. So it is as narrow as it could possibly be. We could have kept the 4-wheel drive. It would have involved hacking out more of the knuckles and finding some super short dog bones. The ones I used in the rear, I think, are M05. So they're already kind of the shortest ones in the Tamiya lineup. So it is what that is. I'm not sure yet how to go about this. I still haven't sorted out the pin situation in the front. Again, I tried to put a screw in, but the, I don't know what you call it, the C-hub is not as, you couldn't thread an M3 into it. That's what I was hoping for. I could thread M3s front and back, have something out here to tie into some bracket, and that's just not going to play ball. So we're going to have to do some type of pin setup, whether it's the ones that came with these control arms, which I do not have for the front. I have a set of rears that are still sealed that have the little metal rods with the C-clips on the ends of the E-clips. But that's going to screw up our plans up here in the front to make a lower shock mount. So it's kind of, again, 2 steps forward, 1 step back at least this time instead of 2 back. But yeah, now I did go ahead and put wider 12mm hexes in the front, and it just tucks like crazy now. So we could go a little wider, but we're out of thread on our output shafts. So there's not really a way around that at all. But I think that about wraps it up for this one. Sorry for the long video. This stuff just takes time, and I don't want to skip steps and you know, if you really want to know how to do this, the information's all there. And looking at the front air ride, we might be able to actually move this up off of these body mount posts. Buy us a little bit of space down here at the bottom. I don't know, we'll have to measure again because I don't remember what our measurement was from the hood. We have lowered the body down, so yeah. But my brain's fried for the day, so we're gonna wrap it up here. Another side effect of going lower is we're gonna have less lift, obviously. That's plenty of room to turn the tires completely. The back doesn't want to play right now because the air ride's still connected. So that should be good enough. We got plenty of room. We actually could do a little turning all the way aired out as well now, since we have so much more room now. But yeah, anyways, keep it scale, guys. Get out there and do something with the hobby. Whether you're bagging mini trucks or whatever it is. I'll see y'all in the next video.